Okay, hello everyone. Myself Pancham Singh. I am going to deliver one of the important lecture on programming for problem solving, and the subject code is BCS 101. So, in this lecture, I am going to discuss about the basic of the computer program. What is the basic of the computers and why these components are important for the programming. So, I am going to discuss about the introduction to the digital computer. So, in introduction to digital computer, because computer is an electronic device which is capable of receiving information in a particular form and of the performing a sequence of the operations. So, basically computer is receiving the data, and on the basis of that it is going to perform the different operations. So, a computer that perform calculation and logical operations with quantitatives represented as digits, usually in the binary form, and that's why this is called the digital computer. So, why computer is called the digital? Because computer is understand only 0 and 1, and it will work on the high level language to low level language, because it will convert high level language to low level. That's why computer deal with only binary number, that is 0 and 1. What are the basic operations of computers? So, there are some basic operations of computer. The first operation of the computer is it accept data or instruction from external words. So, basically what instructions we are giving to the computer. So, computer is basically getting that input, on the basis of that it will perform the processing and we will get the output. Second point is it convert these instruction and data in computer acceptable form. So, the machine is understand only data in the form of the binary. So, machine will convert the data into the binary form, and after that the binary data will convert into the high level language, and you will get the actual information what you are going to transfer to the machine. So, it access data or instruction from the external words. That is the first point. This is the first point. And second point is it converts the instruction and data into computer acceptable form. What computer will accept the data, which type of data is basically computer is accepting, that is important, because if you are transferring the data in the different forms, a machine is not going to understand the data, then machine will not convert the actual data what you want to proceed. So, things are very important in the second point. And now move for the third point. It supply the converted instruction and data to the computer for further processing, because if you are going to process the data, so how you will process the data? Computer will extract on the collection of the data, and it will move for the next processing. So, if data is understandable and machine is understanding the data, and on the basis of it will convert to the high level language to low level language, and again it will convert to the low level language to high level language, then after you will receive the actual data what you required. So, these things are very important whenever you are sending the data in the form of the into the computer, and computer is going to understand the right data, what data or information you are going to proceed. But next point is storing. That where you are going to store the data, that is important, because if you are going to proceed the data, so definitely data will proceed from one machine to another machine, then where you will store the data. So, you will need the memory. So, in storing means it is stored all the data to be processed, what data is has been processed, and a computer will basically store the data in the memory. It store the intermediate results, what intermediate results are there. On the basis of that it will going to change from one language to another language. But this thinks that the things whatever you are going to transfer the data is understandable, and machine will convert from one to another form, and it will save into the memory. Processing means it is a transformation set to convert into data into useful information. From data will converted from one form to another form, and when you will extract the data you will get the meaningful data. What about the output? It accepts the results produced by the computer, what computer is proceed, and we are getting the correct information. It converts these coded result to human acceptable, because if you are not going to understand the meaning of the data, then data is wastage, because if you are collecting the data and that data is giving the meaningful result, then you can say that you are getting the correct data. Last is it supplies the converted to the outside world. So outside world you can interact by computer, and many people, if they are abroad from India and they want to share the data, they want to transfer the information or data, your programming part, they can do anything from one place to another place in the world. Now what about the controlling? Computer control all the attached peripheral like printer, scanner, speakers, all things are controlled by the machine, that is called the computer. So computer is basically controlling all devices which are connected by the connected in such a way they are performing, they are helping to perform the operation. Now next PPT is I am going to discuss about the functional components of the computer, block diagram of computer. So block diagram means if you are going to perform a structure of the computer, so how computer is look like. So computer is look like in this form. This is the figure where we can see how computer is basically look like in the block diagram. So if you are going to give the input in the form of the data, so data will processed by primary storage. So there are a hierarchy of the storage. Hierarchy of the storage is divided in two parts. One is the secondary storage and second is the primary storage. So where is your data? The question is, where is your data? If your data is in secondary storage, then you will proceed for the running that program will call to the main memory. If your data is in main memory, then directly it will process by the machine. So data is storage. Data, where is your data? That is important, because data place, the place of the data is very important. Either it can be secondary memory, either it can be in a primary memory. And what is the control unit? So basically control unit controlling the all information what you want to get, because there are n number of instructions that can be handled by the operating system, may be handled by the computer. Computer is processing that data with the help of the control unit like arithmetic and logical unit. So these type of arithmetic, logical unit and control unit, basically they are performing the calculation, they are performing the mathematical operation. What mathematical operation basically you want to, they will giving the help for the processing. So this is the block diagram, and finally you are getting the output in the form of the information. So data is coming from the one end and we are getting the output in the second end. So data is coming from the one end and you are getting the output. And finally this diagram basically showing how data is processed. The question is that how data is processed. So here there are two lines they are representing. The first line is a bold line that show the flow diagram, and second line is dotted line that show the control flow. So why they are showing different lines in the block diagram? Because two different lines they are representing how your block diagram is representing, or how your block diagram is showing how these operations are happened in the computer. So data flow means simple, it show the bold line, that is a bold arrow, and that is the process by the machine. Proper input, you are giving the input data, it will going to process and you are getting the output. In between what is going, that can be shown by the control flow diagram, that is shown by the dotted lines. So these are the basic operations. Now I am not going to discuss in detail about what are the input devices and what are the output devices. Basically input devices are those devices which are helping for the inputting of the data inside the system. And what about the output devices? Output devices, what you are sending the data, machine is giving the output on the basis of calculation, on the basis of the operation, then you will get the result. So input and output, like input devices maybe you can say keyboard, mouse, these are the input devices. Output devices you can say speaker and desktop, these are the output devices. So output devices basically they are showing the result, and input devices you are inputting the data to the computer and we are getting the result. So these are the they are basically helping for the operations what you are going to perform in that inside the computer. Input devices, there are different types of input devices. I am not going to discuss in detail because this is very basic concept of the digital computers. What about the mouse? Mouse basically if you are going to discuss about the mouse, you are going to discuss about the trackball and the touchpad, touch screen, light pen, magnetic ink character like MICR. These are show the input devices. What about the output devices? So these are the output devices, like monitor is the output devices, printer is output devices, plotter is output devices, and sound card and speaker, it also show the output devices. What about the memory? So question is that why memory is important for processing of data, and where you are going to store the data. Either you are going to store the data in the cache memory, either you are going to store the data in main memory, either you are going to store the data in the secondary memory. So there are different types of memory basically used in the computer. So there are two different types basically, although we have different types of memory, but here we are going to discuss only two important types of memory, that is primary memory and secondary memory. So what is the primary memory? Primary memory is a volatile memory. When light is gone, you will lose the data. What about the secondary memory? Secondary memory is a type of memory when either light is gone, either light is coming, there is no effect of the data, because data is permanently stored in the secondary device or secondary memory. So primary memory is also known as RAM or ROM, and secondary memory is known as the hard disk. So these are the memory structures. We are not going to discuss in detail, because primary memory basically help for the running the program. When you are running the program, your data is called into the main memory, then your program will run. But if you are going to store the large amount of data, then you will use the secondary storage like hard disk, magnetic tape, magnetic disk. So they are basically used to store the large amount of data. So secondary memory is another type of memory, like you can use in the form of the hard disk, you can use in the form of the compact disk CD, in the form of the DVD, and many things are there. You can use in the form of the secondary storage, secondary memory, because secondary memory basically we can carry to any place, because if you have the CD-ROM, yeah, DVD player, and we are using the CD, so you can carry CD from one place to another place. But in case of the RAM, if you are using the RAM, so using the RAM inside the system, either in the laptop or desktop, but we cannot separate from the systems. So these are the basically structure of the memory. And what about the processing? Because if you have the memory, if you have the data, then we need the processing. So processing means we are process the data from input to output. So how you are going to process the data? The question is how you are going to process the data, because if you are going to process the data, we are going to process the meaningful data from one end to another end, and we are getting the meaningful result or meaningful output. So processing means we are performing by the CPU control unit, by the arithmetic logic unit, because they are helping to processing of the data. So these are the processing basically. And what about the memory hierarchy? If you are going to discuss about the why memory hierarchy is important, because memory is divided into different categories on the basis of the speed, on the basis of the cost, on the basis of the size. So because if you are moving from the top to bottom, like in the form of the red color, top to bottom, so you are going to increase the storage size, but you are losing the speed, because if you are going to move from the top to bottom, so register is a very smallest device which store the data in the form of the bit, in the form of the bits only. But if you are moving to the bottom level, so size of the storage devices is very large in the form of the disk, like a magnetic tape or magnetic disk. But if you are moving from the bottom to up, so you are decreasing the size of the data but increasing the speed and cost. So these are the functionality of the memory hierarchy, because memory hierarchy is designed in such a way that which type of data we needed. Basically, if you need the small data, small storage, then you will use the register and cache. But if you need to store the large amount of data, then you will need the hard disk and magnetic tape. So these are the storage devices. This is the pyramid structure of the memory, how memory is basically used in the system and during the processing. So these are the memory hierarchy. And first discuss about the register. So because register is a very smallest storage device which store the data in the digit form, in the bits form. What about the cache? Cache is very fastest memory. Basically, if you are going to access data, so data is basically in the form of the cache. So sometimes the data is in a cache and then if you're same time you are going to call the data, then your data is available in cache, though it will reduce the time of the access of the time of the data, because data in the cache, so you will reduce the time of the processing. Now what about the RAM? RAM is stand for random access memory. Basically it is a main memory, or you can say it is a primary memory, and this memory is very helpful for the running the program, because if you are going to run the program, your program will run only if it will come into the main memory, otherwise your program will not run. So this is the main memory, that is RAM. Now what about the secondary memory? So secondary memory means we are going to discuss about storing the large amount of data. So if you are going to store the data like banking system and real estate data, so where you will store the data? The thing is that, so we need the large storage device that is used by the secondary storage. Maybe sometimes we are using the secondary storage and your secondary storage is full, then you can replace by another secondary storage devices and you can store the data inside them. So these are the very important in the secondary storage, like hard disk, compact disk, these are the secondary storage devices. Now I am going to discuss about the computer software. So why software is important? The question is why software is important and why computer system is divided into two different software. First is system software and second is application software. So if I am going to discuss about the system software, so operating system is a system software. If I am going to discuss about the application software, so application software that can be run by the users, and it can be created by the many people. They can implement the software and we can use for different purposes. But system software is operating system, and operating system basically provide an interface between hardware and application program. What type of application program you want to run, you can run with the help of the OS only. But thing is that the hardware requirement must be fulfilled. So these are the block diagram, basically how software and application software, they are interacting to each other and they are working. The question is that how hardware and software, they are support to each other, because if hardware is not support to the software or software is not support to the hardware, then you will not execute your program, you cannot run your data. So the thing is very important, because these area are the hardware, system software and application software. So hardware means hardware in the form of the RAM, in the form of the hard disk, in the form of the motherboard. These are the hardware part that supporting to the running the program. But system software means operating system. So operating system provide the interface between the hardware and software, and application software that can be run by the users. So these are the basically a block diagram. We can use the different programming languages like Visual Product, like C, C#, yeah, C++, query and report development, analytical processing. They can use the programming in the form of the analytical processing. So basically they are helping to run the program with the help of the OS. So operating system is system software. It provides the interface between the hardware and user, and it will provide the interface in such a way that you can run your program. And there are different types of software. The second software is utility software. So what is it? Utility software? Like utility software is a type of software like antiviruses, firewall, disk fragmentation and so on. So they are protecting your system. Basically they are protecting your system. The software is designed in such a way that it will protect your system from external attack or internal attack. Now last is the application software. So application software basically is a type of software like a user can run the program, like office software, gaming software. So many more software are there. So user directly they can run that type of software, that is called the application software. So these are the structure of the operating system in which we are going to discuss about the users. Users sit at the top, application software that can be interact by the users, and these are the operating system. So operating system provide the interface between the hardware and application programs, or you can say user. So there are different types of operating system like Windows operating system and Linux operating system and Sun micro system. So there are many types of operating system. Basically why operating system design and which type of purposes you have designed the operating system. Somehow we are designing the operating system for personal use. Somehow you are going to design the operating system for the network administration, and some of the operating system is divided for the controlling the all information, like in companies, because if you're going to design an operating system for the security as well as a large amount of people they can do their information, so you will use for the Linux operating system. So if you're going to use the operating system in personal use, you can use the Windows operating system. So Windows operating system is simple and features are easy in the Windows operating system, and everyone can learn and play the operating system in Windows operating system. But in case of the Linux is tough operating system. So many graphical design are different, and we can take time. It will take time to learn the operating system. So they have the different features. That's why we are using the either Windows operating system, either we are using the Linux operating system, either you are using the Unix operating system. So there are different types of operating system. So why operating system? The question, because operating system is help to provide the interface between the user and hardware, and it will proceed your data. So operating system functions, what type of functions you can perform in the operating system, like process management, memory management, device management, handling users, job accounting, security, communication, fault tolerance, and command interpreter. So these are the basically functions. There are different types of functions are surrounding in the circular form. You can see this operating system provide different types of functions, because whatever you are doing, you are controlled by the OS, because operating system is controlling all the things what is going inside the system, like process management, how many processes are running, device management, how many devices they are active way. We are using, either you are using the external device or internal devices, so they are the devices. File management, how many files you have opened, how many files are downloading, how many files are closed, all the history are captured by the operating system. Memory management, which type of memory basically you are using, either you are using the external memory or internal memory, or RAM or ROM. So these are the memory types. Handling users, which type of users, how many users are there, 1 user, 2 users, 3 users. So there are users. So all things are basically handled by the operating system. Security is another important aspect in the operating system, because somehow we are using the internet, and we are getting the different type of Trojan worms, viruses, they are entering your system and they will crash your hard disk. So you will protect your system by using the antivirus software. So by in the terms of the security we can use. Communication means if a system want to communicate to another system, they can communicate by the message passing and shared memory. So these are the functions of the operating system. Now what is CUI, what is GUI, and what is the difference between CUI and GUI? So CUI and GUI basically they are providing the interface between the computers. Now this is the basic structure of the C program, in which we are going to provide the source code, and compiler will compile the source code, and it will go for the next level, that is linker. Linker is linking, and after that it will load to the machine and it will go to execute, because linker is linking the library functions, and on the basis of that it will go for the loading area, and after that your program will execute. So these are the differences between the compiler and interpreter. Compiler is compiling the whole code at a time, but interpreter is interpreting line by line the code. So these are the differences. So basically these are the very important difference, because if you're going to use a compiler, so compiler is basically designed in C language, C++ and C#, but the interpreter is designed in the Python, MATLAB. So they are designed in the different forms. So these are the some differences are there, like a loader and linker. So loader and linker, loader is loading the program for the for the output, but linker is linking your program with the help of the library of the software. So linker generate the executable module of the source code. On the basis of that your program will loaded, and the types of linkers are linkage editor, dynamic linker. So these are the types of linkers. The types of loaders are absolute loading and relocate loading. So these are the some algorithms. So algorithm is a step-by-step procedure to solve any problem. So these are the input, output, and what type of sequences we are using, that is the algorithm. So we are not going to discuss in detail because input is a part of the algorithm, output is a part of algorithm, definiteness is a part of the algorithm, effectiveness and finiteness. So these are the sequences in which we are going to use the algorithm. So these are the algorithms of the degree temperature to Fahrenheit, and we are not going to discuss in detail. And this is the flow chart diagram. Basically, flow chart basically is a graphical representation of the process, how we are representing the process with the help of the figure. So these are the figure. We start and end by the oval. This is the parallelogram, rectangle, diamond, arrow, and connector symbol. So these are the symbols basically used in the flow chart. So these are the some flow charts of the sum of the two numbers. We can see by using the starting and ending, both are same symbol, and rest of the symbols are going to change. So these are the flow chart diagram, and these are the differences between the pseudo and pseudocode. Thank you.